WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem. It's me, Phil and friends, and I'm back, and it's live. Y'all have no idea. I am so nervous right now. But welcome to the live broadcast of Phil and Friends. We're on every Sunday from 12 noon right here on your New York's favorite radio station. That's what I like to say. WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem. Listen, I've got my best friend, Ivy Scott, on the show today. She came on last year, and she just really gave her heart and told us the story about her life. But anyway, I'm going to bring her on today. She has part two. She was keeping some stuff from us, and she really wanted to really get this off her chest and just share it with you. But today's story is about healing. It's not a bashing story. It's not anything negative. It's about her going through her process, getting the help and healing that she needs to be where she is today. So, I mean, I would say, audience, give it up for her, but give it up for my best friend, Ivy Scott. Ivy!
Sorry, I had to give it up for myself since we can't have actual callers right now.
Right. You look good.
Thank you.
How you doing?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you. How are you doing, best friend?
I'm good. You know, we're getting this whole Phil and Friends thing, this new virtual thing that you've been telling me to do forever.
Right. You would have been ahead of the trend, but it's okay. You're gonna listen to me one day.
I'm gonna listen to somebody. The thing about me, I'm hard headed. I don't listen to nobody about nothing.
This is true. Yeah.
We're here now, and so let's just jump right into it. Listen, people have been wanting to know ever since we put this on Facebook. People have been excited. They have talked about how brave you are, your transparency. But let's just start from where you were last year when you came to the station.
Sure. Yeah. Well, first of all, do I need to look at the camera or do I need to look here?
I don't know. I'm looking over here.
Okay, child. It don't even matter. So
listen. So to the audience, this is new. This is the first live show. So if we're messing up, I don't even know if I'm recording. It says recording. So
let's pray that we are recording right now. And y'all give us feedback and let us know.
Can you hear me?
I hope so. But no, it's all good. So thank you, Phil, for having me back. You know, when you had me on, that was early 2019. I want to say maybe January, February-ish. Not quite sure. But at the time, I was probably about 5 months pregnant. So it might have been February, March. Anyways, I went on the show with this hope and desire. I was very much so pregnant. Yeah. And at the time, nobody knew, except you and some close friends, that my then husband and I were separated. And I was holding on to my religion, everyone said, just pray about it and it's going to be okay, And so I was doing that. I was doing a ton of praying. I was doing a lot of thinking and meditating. But honestly, in the deep down in my heart, I knew it wasn't going to work. And the reason why I say that is because I had saw the signs prior to us getting pregnant. And I was hoping that things would get better, but they just didn't. And just kind of I guess you could say helicopter up. As I had discussed on the show, we had experienced a great loss in 2018, December 28th, 2018. We lost our first child because we had the incompetent cervix. And so, that was a whole healing process in and of itself. And my marriage went through a bit of a bumpy road during that time. A lot of people didn't know that, he had totally disconnected from me. I was putting on a front. And part of that front was because, and I think I talked about this in the last show, I've always I've always acted as if my life was perfect. Yeah. I've always been on stage, and I've told you this before. Mm-hmm. I was a politician, if you will. Mm-hmm. I was always competing for something. I was always running for an office since I was in middle school. So for me, it was I was always campaigning for myself. And we'll talk about more of what that means in terms of campaigning for myself. So putting on an act, wanted to be perfect, wanted to be a leader, and all of that really wanted an acceptance, right? And so when I did start going through a really rough time, I didn't know how people would receive it. Hell, I didn't even know how I was going to receive it. So anyways, fast forward, here it is, we had went through counseling in 2018. We were going through counseling, and I could tell that he was very dismissive. We actually only went through a few counseling sessions together. And I will advise people, I think we're going to call the title of this show, Marriage Does Not Define Me.
Right.
You really need to start counseling before the problems happen, because then when they do arrive, then you already have the tools.
Right.
If you wait until you're already in the trenches of things, I'm not saying it's too late, but you will be more equipped if you make it part of your relationship in the beginning. So, anyways,
And
I
that's
could tell that.
everything too, Ivy. We talk about this as friends a lot. The whole therapy, counseling thing, just in general, it's a life thing that Black people really don't talk about. It's kind of like taboo, but we need Jesus and we need therapy, right?
Like, seriously, and my pastor actually preached about that once. He was like,
Mhm.
"Listen, I'm y'all pastor, but I can only help you but so far." And so
Right.
he actually had a panel of mental health professionals.
Mhm.
And I not only had a counselor, I have a life coach.
Right.
And so I think it even goes deeper than that. Is that you really need to find out what you need in order to keep you balanced, in order to, and we'll get into kind of like my kind of healing or whatever,
Mhm.
but you really need to talk to someone outside of your friends and outside of your pastor, because your friends, which I found, they don't have the tools to help you either, because they still trying to figure it out themselves.
They're still on the same walk that you're on.
Absolutely. And don't get me wrong, there are some friends who can help to keep you encouraged and put a smile on your face. But when it really takes to do the work on yourself, that's really an internal journey that you have to go through. So, anyways, I feel like I'm all over the place,
No,
child.
you're
So,
good. You're good. You're good.
so 2018, I'm like, Lord, I got to get through this healing. Help me. I'm going through a physical changes. I don't look my best. I am going through, honestly, I was going through identity crisis. I was changing my hair, I feel like every other week, different color, different style,
You had a new wig every other day.
a wig child. Got all this hair, but I'm wearing a wig.
Right, right, right.
I love a little splash of the paint on the face, but I was definitely ODing there. I was just trying everything for my husband to love me. And it never was enough. And enough is a key word that I want people to hold on to. I didn't feel like I was enough in his eyes. So here it
And
is,
you guys got
August.
married when? You guys got married
So
in 2017?
we got in 2016. So
2016.
we got married in 2016. 2017, because I was a planner. 2017, we're just gonna have fun and enjoy our marriage.
Travel around the
2018,
world, which you guys
yeah,
did. You traveled with
we
your friends.
traveled,
Yeah.
made our coins. And then it was like, all right, 2017, we're gonna chill. 2018, we're gonna get pregnant, and then we're gonna have a baby, and everything gonna be Gucci.
Right, right.
That was not the case. We got pregnant in 18, lost the baby in 18, and everything went downhill after that.
But, you say lost the baby, and I don't want you to
Mhm.
because a lot of people didn't hear the first part of the show. You actually
Yeah.
pushed a baby out.
Yeah, man, that was tough. So you have these different levels, right? You have miscarriage, and that usually occurs within the first 3 months.
Right.
But unfortunately, well, not even gonna say unfortunately, but for me, I was 5 months pregnant. I was well in after my first trimester, and I will say, unfortunately, I had to go through labor, like the whole, like it was like 12 hours. I had to have an epidural. I had to go through everything that you go through when going through childbirth.
Right.
And unfortunately, going through that knowing that the baby would not make it. So that was my first experience with labor.
Right.
But so anyways, that's for another show to talk about that. I think, I really want us to focus on kind of post that experience. So anyways, this is mid 2019, around August. I'm mentioning August because I'm thinking everything is good. Everyone is seeing us post pictures. We're going to all these different places. I'm like, oh yeah, my marriage is doing great. October, we're talking about getting a bigger house. So I'm thinking, okay, we are on the right journey. We're okay. Well, I found out I was pregnant, and actually I didn't find out I was pregnant. I had a hunch that I was pregnant. And I was like, you know what? I think I might be pregnant. And I saw the look on his face. And at that moment, I was like, oh shit.
What was the look that he gave you?
It was like he lost the life out of his face. There was no joy. There was no happiness. here it is. We had experienced such a traumatic loss, and now I'm telling you that I think I'm pregnant. And the look, it wasn't even like a look of fear, it was a look of disappointment.
Mhm.
And I immediately knew, like, this ain't gonna work. And the next day he left me. He left the house. I'm
So,
not gonna get.
so you knew within your spirit, like they say, the women's intuition. You just had a hunch that this is just. I just see it. I just know.
Oh, absolutely. I was
And it
I
was
was about
nothing
to.
prior to that. It was nothing prior to that.
No,
It was
no.
that
Matter of
moment that
fact,
you knew.
let me tell you, we had just came back from a family function in South Carolina. We had taken family photos. We had just came from his best friend's wedding in Cabo. Like, it literally came out of nowhere. Like, yes, we were still going through some issues, but it was nothing to me that deemed divorce.
Mhm.
And so, throughout that year, there were times he had left the house and he told me he was struggling with things. But again, even he had told his own parents and friends, like, Ivy and I are good.
Mhm.
And so he was lying to himself and to us.
Okay. So,
Um, so
so
we had a long,
he decided to leave you. And how many months were you pregnant? So you were pregnant. How many months were you pregnant? Just
so at this point, I did not know definitively that I was pregnant. I had a hunch.
you had a hunch. You said.
So I took a pregnancy test that night. And before I took the pregnancy test, this is key. I said, let me know before I take this pregnancy test what you want to do.
Mhm.
And the reason why I said that is I did not want him to stay with me just because I was pregnant. So I needed to know at that point. And he was not man enough to say anything to me. He just put his head down. And that right there was a clear indication that you want out of this marriage. And although you are unable to tell me verbally that you don't want to be with me, your actions are telling me exactly what it is. And so the test actually came up negative.
Okay.
That whole week though, I'm like, he left me. I'm at the house crying. I'm sad. My cousin's coming over trying to help me, and I kept telling her, like, Ty, I think I'm pregnant. I think I'm pregnant. We take a second pregnancy test. It comes back negative. I'm like, I know my body. The third pregnancy test we take, me and my cousin, I was with my cousin, and it came out positive.
Okay.
And then even after I told him, so he was starting to move his stuff out. I told him that I was pregnant, and he didn't change his behavior. He continued to move out and leave, and that was the beginning of my healing journey that day.
That day. Now, what do you mean when you said that was a part of your healing journey?
Um, At that point, I didn't know,
Mhm.
but I called the beginning of my healing journey because that was the end of our marriage. Unbeknownst to me, that was the last time that we were together as what people would deem as husband and wife. Yes, we were still married.
Okay.
However, that was the end of our marriage. He never moved back. He never came back. As a matter of fact, I later found out that he was already involved in another relationship with the coworker.
Okay. So that's
So honestly, the marriage probably was over before he initially moved out. Honestly,
mm. So how did that make you feel during this time when he left his stuff? You said it, looking back, that was a healing part for you. But how did this make you feel during that time? That this man, you told him you were pregnant, he got his stuff and he just left.
oh man, at the time I didn't know it was healing. I didn't know that was the beginning of the healing. It was terrible, but the reason why I say it was the beginning of my healing because that's when I then had to start going on the discovery of hurt, of pain, of going through all of the emotions. Because I was pregnant, unlike other people, they can go and distract themselves with alcohol, drugs, partying, sex, whatever, multitude of things. I was pregnant, so I literally had to sit in all of my feelings at a very sober state.
Mhm.
Because I had already had a life coach, I had been talking to her like 4 years prior to that. So me and her started going on this journey together, and I immediately was like, "Oh my God, should I be crying? Should I be mad? How should I feel? I'm growing my baby inside of me. I know I'm going to be high risk." And that's when she taught me, Ivy, the best thing that you can do for yourself and for your unborn child is to actually feel every emotion in its totality and get it up and out of you. And that is one of the most challenging things I've ever had to do in my entire life. And it's still something that I practice to this day. It's uncomfortable, it hurts. But one of my good friends who is a mental health professional, his name is DB. I remember he posted something. He was like, the most significant work that you can do is to work on yourself.
Hmm.
And yeah.
Absolutely. I think what I really want the audience to understand is that Ivy had already went through a high risk pregnancy. She already lost a kid. She had went through another miscarriage again, and then you had another. You were pregnant with another kid. So this is King, right? The you're pregnant with at this point in time.
Yeah, this was
This
my
is King. So she had already went through multiple difficulties having a kid. So this is the last child who is with us now, little King. He's just a handsome guy. So you pretty much had to do that you had to be by yourself that entire time, knowing that you were a high risk person. You can't really do anything. You have to stay in the bed pretty much the entire time, right?
So yes and no. We knew going into it that this was going to be a very hard pregnancy, that I would have to go through a procedure at a certain point in my pregnancy where they would have to go through like a outpatient surgery where my cervix would have to be stitched. Additionally, I had to get shots of progesterone every week. Um, I then ultimately, at a certain point, I could not do a lot of walking. I could not do any lifting, and I couldn't stand for a certain period of time. And we had stairs in our townhome. And even through all of that, he never moved back. He put the brunt of a lot of the responsibility was on myself. And thanks be to God, his parents are amazing people. They would go grocery shopping for me. His mother actually administered the progesterone shot. For any woman out there who has dealt with things from infidel who are unable to infertility, to what I went with, progesterone is a hormone that your body naturally creates when you are pregnant. And so in some cases there's a deficit. And so for my case it was a deficit. So as a result my cervix wasn't strong enough. So the progesterone actually helps to strengthen the cervix. It's not abnormal for um, the patient, myself, to administer the shot, or for someone else to do it, or a nurse. And so his mother was so gracious enough to learn how to administer the shot and give it to me every Friday. Where in some cases, like my cousin actually went through this, her husband would do it for her. Um, I actually had friends who would have to come over and take out my trash because he would not. I asked him to take out the trash, and he's like, no, just don't put a lot of trash in the trash can. It even got as far as I asked him to go. He went maybe grocery shopping for me maybe twice. Mind you, this was before Instacart. This was before
This is really
we didn't have all of these things that you could do delivery services, right? And so people would have to go grocery shopping for me. He went like once or twice. That's it. Um, in the midst of me being pregnant, he emailed me separation agreement. Stress. He about 3 months in told me, yeah, I'm going to stop paying all the bills. So I then had the stress of having to not only take on the brunt of all the responsibility of the household, but also having to transfer everything into my name. Let me tell y'all, that is stressful as hell, especially, having to call and explain and go through that whole bit. At 5 months, I was 5 months pregnant. Mind y'all, I lost the first child at 5 months, and at 5 months, he served me with divorce papers. He didn't have, you don't have to serve people, yo. You could talk to them and actually give them the divorce papers. No, I was at my home, relaxing on my couch. Ding dong.
I think I was on the phone with you.
Yeah, I'm looking outside like I'm not about to go answer the door for the stranger. That was on a Saturday. That same car came back on Sunday, and I've watched enough movies to know if a strange person is at your door and you going through an issue like this, I'm like, I know he didn't serve me with papers. I go to the door and he had served me with papers. And not only had he served me with divorce papers, there were false accusations in the paperwork. He accused me of ill conduct and harassment.
So the ill conduct was what? You might have been cheating or something?
Nope. He could not prove ill conduct and harassment. By definition, ill conduct is someone who has bad behavior. I never cheated. I never was abusive with him. I never embarrassed him in public. The way that he later described verbal abuse was because I told him that he was not acting like a king and that he was acting childish. We're not going to get into that, but
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh. He said,
but put it like this: the courts was like, sir, what do you, what
so,
what? But yeah,
so he wasn't acting like a king.
yeah.
I'm confused, but I'm just at loss. So pretty much, long story short, he had a way to tell you, hey, I'm not happy in this marriage.
Yeah, so
That's,
I would know that's kind of like going around, around,
yeah.
around. There was so much that went on, but I kind of want to go through the series of things that was going on. So not only did all of that happen,
Now this is month
um,
5, you guys, right? We're at month 5 or 6 during the pregnancy when he served you the papers in the court.
yeah. So throughout the pregnancy, we'll just put it like this: throughout my 9 months, I still was putting on a front like everything was all good. But
Absolutely.
in the mix of all of that, I'm also so I told y'all all that, right? But I'm also hearing stories. People are calling me like, "Do you know that Corey got a new girlfriend?"
Okay.
As a matter of fact, let me go back. Let me go all the way back. The night that he decided he didn't want to be with me. I asked him. I said, "Are you seeing someone at your job? Are
Mhm.
you talking to someone about this?" And that's when he gave me a little bit of indication that he had been. Oh, Philip, did I lose you?
No, I'm still here. Let me run my radio show. Just keep talking.
Oh, okay, my bad. I was like, hold on, it went black for a second. You didn't warn me
No, I'm
about
here.
that. I'm not gonna try to produce. I'm not gonna try to
No,
produce.
please don't.
Uh, but I had asked him if he was talking to someone because I knew that just in your spirit, right? You just know. And that's when he first told me that he had been communicating with a woman at his job. And this was a woman who was going through a divorce herself. She had her own catalog of issues when it comes to relationships.
And yeah,
And I'm not saying, hey, I'm not saying I'm immune to it, but this was an individual who was going through a divorce. So here it is, you're
you were going through a
confiding.
divorce. You were going through a divorce, and so these two adulterers decided to get together while they were still.
Oh, mind you, he wasn't. So, Lord, okay. I'm trying to figure out how much I want to go into it. But
You know,
basically,
uh-huh,
he was confiding in her about our marital issues,
uh-huh.
which already is number one. You shouldn't be going outside of the marriage talking to anyone. And if you do decide to talk to someone, it damn sure shouldn't be a woman who is going through a divorce and she looking at you like, "Ooh, you a nice little tenderoni. Tell me all the tea, and I'm gonna make you feel good."
Hmm. Oh, so she's an older woman. You say Tenderoni.
Well, I mean,
Older
she
than.
only a couple. She was like, she's not too much older, but I use that. I'm being
I
funny.
get
Be
what you're saying.
honest, she looking at like he was the man in his job. You know, he was a young. We talked about this earlier today. He was great on paper. This was a man who graduated from Morehouse College. This was a man who had 2 masters. He was doing very well in the government. From a private sector if he were in the private sector, he would have been considered a vice president. He had his own office. He had people reporting to him. And so, yeah, he was very likable and desirable by women. And so, yes, if you're talking to a woman who is going through a divorce, who's unhappy, and you're venting to her, she's going to try to make you feel good and tell you all the things that you want to hear versus saying, you know what, I probably need to step out of your relationship issues until you're completely out of it because I'm probably skewing you. I'm probably being pretty biased here because I don't know both sides of the story.
Mhm. I agree there.
Yeah, I'm still here. I
Okay.
just want to pause for a second because I'm like I'm on a roll.
No, I think that's excellent. One of the bad things about this, and normally in the show we can have breaks, so we don't have breaks, you guys. So we have to keep going.
Yeah.
Um, so, so he confided in a woman that he worked with, and
Yep.
obviously very nice. I know the backstory, but this was this could have been all avoided. This could have been avoided with him just having one conversation with you, saying, "Hey, I'm not happy in this marriage. Let me figure out what I can do." Right?
Okay, you know what? To his point, he had already told me at one point I'm not happy, right?
He said that.
But yeah, he said I'm not happy. A lot of people in their marriages say that.
Right.
That's when you say, okay, we're not happy, so let's work on why we're not happy. We don't go run to someone else to seek happiness because it's easy to go to a new person and they make you feel good and they say all the right things. Marriage requires work, sacrifice,
Mhm.
going through a little bit of discomfort. Mind
Absolutely.
you, we were still early in our marriage.
Mhm.
People, anyone who has been in a long term marriage will tell you the first 5 years are really, really bumpy. And if you don't put in dedication and you're not intentional about the success of your marriage, and you definitely don't bring in outside forces, negative forces, people who are ill will, because I'm not trying to throw this person under the bus. I'm giving you the facts. This was an individual who already, and when I say individual, meaning the person that he was involved with, she already had a bad history of just not being a good person in general. Therefore, people who didn't even know me
Mhm.
were calling me,
What does
making it a
that
point
mean,
to
be a bad
find.
person? What does that mean? I need you to be.
I'm about to go into it right now. So, people that I did not know made it a point to find my information,
Mhm.
call me, individuals that he worked with. Mind you, their alliance should be with Corey, not me. They're calling me and they're telling me, I need to talk. There's something that you need to know.
Mhm.
We've met you one or two times, in some instances, never met you. But what we know about you is that you are a good person. And the way that him and her have been conducting themselves in the office is completely inappropriate. And as a result, he spiraled. Look at that. He spiraled out of control. And when I say he spiraled out of control, he started being reprimanded at work. So their behavior started to have an ill effect on how he was performing at work. He basically was demoted, lost his office, lost his the people that were reporting to him.
Mhm.
He lost all sorts of respect in the office. No one no longer wanted to work with him. And this wasn't like, just a spiteful person. No, these were older people who actually loved and cared about him, and they were truly concerned because they saw him go from a thriving individual who in business to someone who had completely lost himself in a person that was distracting them. And she also had a bad reputation
Well, let's be
of,
clear. Let's be clear. He was a grown man. He was not distracted. He made a choice. And
yep.
you cannot, and I used to tell you this all the time, you cannot
Hmm.
be distracted by anybody. You have made this choice. You have chosen to be in this situation. Now you got to deal with it. Now there are repercussions to your actions. You cannot just go out and do what you want to do because you want to do it. You are a married person. A married person, like you said, you got to fight through stuff. This is not your girlfriend. This is not your home girl. I just don't decide to leave because I just want to leave. I gotta put up with it. That's why one of the reasons I don't get married. And you know this, I ain't no relationship person because I don't want to deal with it. Because I know
Yeah,
I gotta fight for it. I can't just lay up, have kids with somebody, go down the altar, get married, and then decide to leave when I want to. That's not how marriage works. That's the
exactly.
real conversation that we're having. That is more about being a man and standing up and doing what you need to do to be a man. And if you don't want to be a man, don't make the commitment. Don't make.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And it's like, let me hear me out. My a- so obviously I was upset that my marriage ain't gonna work.
Right.
But it's not about the fact that he wanted out of the marriage. It's not about the fact that he was unhappy in the marriage. My issue is that you didn't have the decency to wait. It was how he went about doing everything. It's all, and we talked about this. It's all about how you do things.
Mhm.
He was flaunting his relationship with her, so he was taking her places while I was pregnant. I later found out that he moved in with her. Not only did he move in with her, but he helped her to buy a house. So you stop paying bills at the home that we purchased. You stop paying on the car that we went in to buy the car together so that you can take care of another family. Mind you, she had two kids by two different baby daddies. And
Right.
then in the midst of all that, unbeknownst to me, when we were pregnant at the same time. Our our sons are 7 months apart.
So so not only did he move in with this woman, not only did he leave you, he had another family and he got her pregnant.
Hmm.
So there is another child out of wedlock that he had while in the marriage with you. I think that's what the deep part is right now. And so that is what the culminating. This man actually did this to you. How did you
Yeah.
feel at that moment when you found out that this woman was pregnant?
By the time I found out that she was pregnant, my son was already here, thank God. So my son at the time I was still on maternity leave. So I want to say King was probably like 3 months old by the time I found out. And I was pretty numb
Mhm.
because he had done so much to me that I wasn't surprised by anything anymore.
Mhm.
But I think, I mean, like I said, there's a multitude of things that he did, and I was getting stories from everybody. But through all of that, one thing that we said that we want to discuss in this was how I got through it,
Right,
because
absolutely.
that's what everyone wanted to know. And number one, thank you, God. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, ancestors. Thank you, Mother Earth. Thank you, spirit guides,
Right.
for helping me. But number one, I had to acknowledge my hurt. As Black women, as Black people, as women, we are taught to stop crying. You ain't got nothing to cry about.
Mhm.
And I love my mother. I love the people who raised me, but they did the best that they can.
Right.
And so it is the responsibility of every generation to do better. And so I realized that that wasn't the best advice to give a child. And you notice even with my son now, we're human first.
Right.
We have human emotions. And so I had to allow myself to just cry and realize that crying does not equal weak.
Right.
And that was one of the things that I held in college when I was, you know, trying to be in different in organizations and stuff like that. You just don't cry. And so for so long, I had suppressed so many emotions in me from my inner child that I had to kind of get out of me, because I'm like, if I keep this stuff in me, that's going to be detrimental to my child. He cannot feel that. So as a result, I got to get it out. So I had to allow myself to feel the pain. So there were many nights when I cried, cried, cried. And because I had been this person who had this persona of being so strong. And I would never forget when you told me this. And that's when I had to, uh, God rest her soul, my aunt, my cousin, Aunt Shirley, she would always tell me, Ivy, it's time to put your big girl panties on. I had to put my big girl panties on the night you told me, damn, Ivy, you are always the person that is there for everyone else. And now that you're going through this, we don't know really how to help you, because you're the one that's usually the rock.
Mhm.
And that was when I realized, damn, I gotta feel this shit. I gotta go through this, and I gotta dig hella deep.
Mhm.
So I acknowledged how I felt. I allowed myself to feel it. And then I had to go through a whole process of self love and saying, I'm enough.
Right.
So
Because
I
you were
literally wrote
trying to
out,
feel you wanted, and and I know you, and I'm trying not to talk as much, but I know you, and you guys, me and I,
bring it in.
years. You try to feel that I'm enough by dating many, different people and things like that. But we have to say, I'm enough. I'm okay to be by myself. I'm okay to feel what I feel. And if you don't like me, I can't say this on the radio, but kiss my ass. You have to get to that point in your life, because people are so consumed by what other people think about them. We're consumed by what they think. What do they think? I mean, I got a radio show. I'm in entertainment. Of course, I care what people think, but at the end of the day, I really don't. Uh,
Yeah.
but but when it comes to those personal things, to the innermost being of us, it's what I think that matters. It's what I believe. It's who I am that matters, and that's what's going to take us to the next level.
Yeah. And to your point, yes, yes. And
Mhm.
people look for validation
Right.
from that. And that was part of the whole issue with my marriage, was that throughout that short bit of time that I was in a marriage,
Mhm.
I was seeking his validations. I was seeking his acceptance. And thus I was changing my hair, changing my makeup, changing my outfits,
Mhm.
doing all these different things, trying to find validation and acceptance and love for him to tell me I was enough. And then that's when I just realized I got to stop. And
Right.
this has been this journey of being enough, this journey of self love. I'm still on it.
Right.
I feel like I'm definitely at that level now where I can confidently say, I love me. I can look in this screen, I love me.
Right.
Let me tell y'all,
Don't look
I,
too close. You're gonna be
I'm still cute. I'm all here. But no, but like you're not. And when I talked earlier about inner child, growing up, you're not taught to love yourself. You're taught to love everyone else. And therefore, you're always searching for love. You're always looking for something to define you. And you're not just taught, like, you know what, you're enough. Go in the bathroom and say you love me every day. Make it part of your mantra. And so in my bathroom, I have a picture of it. I wrote, I'm enough in lipstick. Now, mind you, I did a lot of reading. I did a lot of meditating, chakra meditation, things that some Christians feel like, ooh, you shouldn't be doing. You got to do what you got to do in order to really connect with spirit and connect with yourself, because the Bible is not enough. Your pastor is not enough. As a matter of fact, your pastor is human as well, and he or she makes mistakes as well. So you have to go through this journey on your own, um, and and you're also taught, like, girl, you're gonna be fine. Don't worry about him. You don't need him, girl. No, you don't need him. But you also gotta admit to yourself, I'm not fine right now.
Right. And it's okay not to be okay sometimes.
Mm.
It's okay not to be okay. Like, yo, we go through this thing like, I'm gonna be all right. I'm a strong, independent Black woman. But guess what? You a broke down Black woman too. And you passion on that trauma and trauma and trauma and trauma on generations after generations. And it's time for us as a community. And that's why I love this show so much, because you're so transparent. If you would have not healed yourself, Ivy, you would have passed that down to your son. Your son would have passed that down to his kids. It is a domino effect. And until we get to the point to where we can start dealing with our issues, we ain't gonna ever be healed. We talking about getting reparations. We need to reparate ourselves. I don't even know this word. We talking about ourselves. There are some things that we have to deal with. One thing that dealt with me growing up, my mom used to always tell me, what happened at 4836 Poundary Lane, stay here. Yo, it's time out for that. It's time. You know what I mean? I'm sure your mama told you the same. Miss Never said the same thing. Whatever happens in this house happens in this house. Listen, ain't nothing really bad going on. We just got a little stuff that we need to fix. Let's deal with it, Black people. Let's deal with it.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And me and my mom, we talk about it all the time. And I challenge my family, because a lot of times my family and Black families, we don't want to have those hard conversations. We don't want to be honest with each other, and we don't want to admit whatever trauma it is that we're going through, because it's supposed to be. We don't know how to communicate.
Right.
And so, to your point, I listen to this podcast all the time that I love, named Debbie Brown, and she had a show, and she had this woman on.
Pubbing nobody else stuff on my show.
You gotta have a little mixture though. You gotta have a little mixture. You gotta have it all. But one thing that I can't take credit for this, but I love, was that when they said, we're gonna stop talking about generational curses. What we're gonna do is start planting new seeds for the future generation, because our parents and our forefathers, they did the best that they could. And so now it's time for you to build a new harvest. So it's not that we're necessarily breaking the generational curse, is that harvest is over. We've gotten the fruits of that. We've learned from that. And now it's time for us to plant these new seeds so that we can grow into better people. So yeah, no, you make a really good point. Like, also one thing that I was thinking about was that, for me, because of what I had seen my family go through, my grandmother had gone through really rough marriages. My mom had never been married at the time. I had kind of put together this checklist of things like, I got to make sure that I'm graduated, I have a job, I'm with him for a certain amount of time. I literally had this checklist. And what I lost in all of that, I lost sight of connecting to my partner. Because he looked good on paper, because he checked all the boxes, I forgot to feel spiritually connected to this person. And I told you this on many occasions. Before I met my ex, I was on this beautiful journey of spirituality. As a matter of fact, I met him while I was going through the Daniels fast. So I was at the purest that I had ever been, besides pre being a virgin, you know what I mean? So I was so connected with God. And then I got with him, and he almost started becoming my God.
Wow. Now that's crazy.
Because I'm changing the way I'm moving in my life to appease to him. I was doing things that I never usually would do.
Let's talk about that, because the show is about healing. We've had a lot of moving pieces. We have had commercials. It's great. Let's talk about women who do that, because I want you to help a woman out there who has literally moved their entire life to revolve around a POS, for lack of a better word. They do not understand. He looks good on paper. Sometimes they don't even look good on paper. You be like, what is this? Is this what is his resume in crayon? Like what? But some people just want somebody just to have somebody. I hear so many women say that. And I look at a lot of women who went to our school, Clark Atlanta University, Spelman, but it don't matter what school, and they just settle. And it's like, okay, are women, because I know women get to that point to where they just want to be with somebody. They want to have a baby. My eggs are freezing. I got my eggs about to run out. And I think I heard you say that to me once before. Like my eggs getting old. No?
You never heard me say that
Okay.
ever. Because I've been a huge proponent of, before I even got engaged, I was one of them people, like, I'm not rushing. I will say one thing that my mother taught me was I'm not rushing to the altar, meaning that we thank God for science, because I can freeze my eggs. So I had already been researching. I was 27. I'm like, let me go ahead and research how I can freeze these eggs, because what I'm not going to do is just get pregnant just because. Like, I didn't. That's why I thought I had did everything right.
Right.
But you,
Let's talk about that with women to help them.
yeah, you make a good point. So, sisters, I say this because I'm a sister and I know, and like he said, I got friends that I've been there. We rush to the altar. We rush to a husband when we forget about what I tell you earlier, Philip. Good boyfriends are underrated. A good boyfriend is completely underrated. And what I mean by that is that you get so fixated on just having a man so that you can hurry up get married, that you don't truly foster a good relationship with your boyfriend or your life partner. You get caught up in these titles. And it's like, no, it's not about a title. It's about truly connecting with an individual and becoming whole. So the first thing you need to do is become whole on your own. Love yourself, because like they say, if you can't love yourself, how the hell are you gonna love somebody else? And that's the realest thing I've ever. That's a real ass statement. Like, if you don't love you, how can you, one, love someone else, and how can you expect them to love you? Like, no one should love you more than you.
Right.
So until you achieve that, you're never going to be successful in any relationship, because you're putting too much on that person.
Right.
You're putting too much on them for them to make you happy. No, 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 no. He doesn't make me happy. He adds to my happiness.
Mm.
No, he doesn't give me peace. He's adding to my peace.
Right. And if they
You
don't
gotta,
do it,
yeah, they need to add to it. They need this. It's just adding a new level. No one can give you those things. You gotta find it within yourself.
and it doesn't take a long time for you to understand somebody. And I asked Ivy this, and I'm gonna ask you now since we're live. Did you take that moment before you met this man to analyze him? Did you ask God, is this the right man for me? Did you go down a checklist? Did you know his values? Did you question any of that before you got with this man? And I think a lot of people, but you answer that. Did you do that? Did you do those things?
Yes and no. And the reason why I say yes and no is I check the boxes. Got a job, got a college education, respectful, he nice, we have fun. But the value statement. What are his values? And our values were 100% different.
Right.
Thus, I said I started changing myself and doing things that were outside of my characteristics. And I lost myself in that relationship. And there were red signs, like, and there were, I mean, the red, not red signs, the red flags were there. There were things that I saw in him and I was like, I can fix it, because I'm known as the fixer in my group, right? I'm like, oh, I can fix him. Let me tell you something, man, woman, it don't matter. You can't fix anybody who don't want to fix themselves. And honestly, it's not your role to fix them. It's only to help them to be better. They should already be a solid person.
And women love fixing men. Let me tell you something. You cannot fix a grown man. He ain't gonna change. He is exactly who he is when you met him. If he was with Shaniqua when you got with him, guess what? He gonna leave you for Bonquisha. Straight up. Because let me tell you, in the situation with Ivy, if this man had one woman and was sleeping with you at the same time, guess what, Shaniqua? He about to do the same thing with you with Bonquisha. But y'all got to be smart enough to understand a man, it is a pathology. This is who he is. It ain't gonna change. But so you gotta realize, if you get with somebody, you gotta get with a good man. And you know all the time too, Ivy, with this Future and what's his name? Future
and Russell Wilson.
Russell, yeah, right here. Russell Wilson. You know, people make fun of Russell. That's a good man. That's a good man.
Oh my God, yes. I saw a meme the other day. It was like, people, what did it say? It said something to the effect of, people want Russell Williams, but they want him to look, or they want Russell Wilson like money and attributes, but you want him to act and look like Future. Hell no.
That's
Sierra
ghetto.
looking,
Why y'all so
Sierra looking real.
ghetto? Everybody's
Sierra
so
looking real.
ghetto.
No, give me Russell.
But
Give
it's
me
like a
Russell.
lot of these people, they just ghetto. Y'all want to continue this ghetto pathology. Don't nobody wants the FBI running up in your house, and you got all these baby mamas. Who the one? You said something to me, so I'm gonna just say this because we real, right? We're gonna keep it real.
Yes, keep
You
it real.
said, and I don't want to bring his name up, but you said your ex made us ghetto. You was like, he made us. He made us. He was like, he made y'all because y'all were this. Listen, it's Atlanta University Center. You do well. They got money. They got houses. They doing well. And here you come with the baby mama, dog. You just messed up the entire flow of all the goodness going on. So now you
Yes,
gotta explain why your kids are 7 months apart. I mean,
exactly. And the thing is, like, even that, I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna find somebody who come from from a two-parent home. What I've learned, people, their parents don't define who they are. I
absolutely.
got so caught up in everything else around him that I did not focus on the core of him. Just because his parents had a lasting relationship and they're devoted to each other doesn't mean he's going to be devoted to me. As a matter of fact, for instance, like we did premarital counseling at his church where his parents were over the wedding ministry. That did not serve us well at all. That was number one where I should have been like, nope, we need to talk to some outside people to really, because he didn't take it seriously. And you know what?
Wait,
Maybe
they were
I
the
didn't either.
counselors of y'all? They were the pre-wedding counselors?
They were part of the ministry. They were, hell, his mom was in, and I love her. We still have a great
Yeah,
relationship,
y'all do.
but that's where we should have been like, you know what? We need to separate the two so that we really can take this more seriously. And what I told you all the time is that my ex-husband enjoyed the marriage when it was fun.
Mhm.
Once all the newness wore off, once the novelty wore off, and things and stuff got real, he was not ready for that. And if I would have really been honest with myself about the trajectory of his life, he had never really taken on true responsibility the way that a lot of us have. And I'm not going to get into the crux of it because let me tell you, this is not about bashing him or blaming him. I'm just calling a spade, and it is, the facts are the facts. And I know that I could have done some things in the beginning that might have prevented some things, but it don't even matter. This is my journey. If him and I hadn't been together, I would not have my beautiful son that I am now. I wouldn't have this level of supreme true happiness.
Right.
I had to go through this journey to get where I am now, back in Atlanta, where I love,
Uh-huh.
doing exactly what I love, having this fulfillment of confidence. So what I really want to stress to women is that, one, don't, when things happen to you, don't ask God why. Just say, God, thank you, because you got to trust the journey that you're about to go on and know that it's not going to be easy, but don't feel like a man is going to define you. And I think that's what we were talking about. There's so many women who like, I'm ready to get married. What about I'm ready to meet my life partner? I'm ready to meet a partner that I can build with, that's going to love me and accept me for me. Forget titles. Let me tell you something, Phil. I never have to get married again. And it's not because I'm bitter. It's because I don't need paperwork to define my relationship. I don't need to change my name to define me as a solid woman and as a whole woman and to define my love. I don't, even if I do get married again, I don't even want a ceremony because all of that is a production. You know what? I'm a great event planner. I can host a bomb ass party. I don't need that. I need to make sure that my relationship with my partner is solid and that we're on the same page spiritually and mentally, and that our goals and our values are truly aligned with each other.
Absolutely. And I can tell your growth. And I mean, just your body's changed. I wish we could show your body. Now, Ivy's been working out. I mean, she was already in shape before she got pregnant. Then she got in shape again with Effect Fitness, which is her company that she works with. But you're amazing, best friend. And I think you are on the right path. And I think your son is going to be very proud of you. What are you going to tell your son about what happened between him and his dad, you and his dad?
Okay, I'm going to answer that. But one thing I also want to
Right.
say about the physical stuff is that for years I've worked out. And I was looking at some pictures of me back in the day. And
Right.
it wasn't until I truly got to a level of self love. I got rid of the garbage. I got rid of all of that weight and trauma that I was dealing with, that I was able to fully transform my body. So I will say, women, you can be in the gym all day, but until you do a spiritual cleanse and a spiritual workout, your physical body is not going to change. Trust me. So I just want to put that out there because people have been asking me, what are you doing? I don't starve myself. I
Right.
still drink. I'm everything in moderation and I enjoy what I eat. I don't work out. I work out enough, but we'll talk about that for
And she
another
ain't
show.
following the COVID rules of America. Let's just be. We'll talk about
Whatever,
that later.
whatever. But
I'm about to be in Atlanta real soon, so I ain't following.
um, shout out to me getting my vaccine tomorrow though. But no. So what I'm going to tell my son, I'm not going to tell my son anything. I'm going to wait until my son asks me. It is what happened between his father and I um is not, I'm not gonna say his responsibility, but he shouldn't be, I don't need to impose that on him.
Right.
That was between me and his dad, not him. You know, he just so happened to be a product of our relationship. So whenever he's ready to have the conversation, I'm gonna allow him to bring it up. I'm not gonna diss his father. I'm not gonna, even now, let me put something out there too, ladies. You gotta let go of that bitterness. Through everything that he was doing to me, I never ran up on him. I never went to his house. I never, disrespected him in public. I never disrespected him on social media. As a matter of fact, I went on Phil's show and I thanked him. I never went off on her. I never approached her. I handled everything with grace because I'm like, I know that I'm not going to get anywhere but to jail if I go trying to fight him or do something to him. So, you, as a woman, one, your issue is not with that woman because, like Philip said, I didn't marry her, I married him. So that's number one. Number two, don't give nobody the satisfaction where they take your power and you out here acting a fool, burning his stuff and doing whatever. Let God handle that. You let God handle him. You let Miss Karma, because let me tell you, Miss Karma don't play these days. She come back real quick. You don't have to do nothing. You force all your energy on you and worry about you and let the universe and karma and God handle that man who not acting right.
She said, Miss Karma. Is that like Miss COVID? Miss COVID and Miss Karma ain't playing with y'all. So
Okay. They will attack you. I've watched it. I just sit back and eat my popcorn
well,
because I just
listen,
be like,
my whole thing is, and I'm big on this, is you just got to do the right thing. Always do the right thing the first time. And if you don't want to be a man, just be a man, fellas. Just step up and speak your truth. And if you're gonna play the role of being a husband, you need to be a man. And you need to open up your mouth and say what you want. And if there are things as in relationships, I don't like relationships. That's why I'm not in one, because I don't like all of this. I don't like all this extra stuff. You know me, I'm a Gemini. I go off real, I go set it off in this mug. But but the Lord is working on me. But we have to learn how to get to a point where we can be adults about things. And I think, thank you so much for coming on the show.
hmm
I don't even know if they can hear us, but this is a great. I hope so.
right.
But I love you so much. This is a great
Love you
opportunity.
too.
You didn't have to do this, and you didn't have to share your truth, but you did. And we appreciate you so much for coming on, Philip Friends. And we got to get you back on the show. You're always a welcome guest here, and I look forward to partnering with you in Atlanta, friend.
Thank you, friend. Well, I appreciate you giving me this platform to speak my truth. This is the beginning of like my journey of sharing my testimony and my journey with women. And I hope to be in more be in more opportunities like this. And I just hope that I honestly and truly, I told you all the time, is that I've always strived to be a leader. And one thing about being a leader is that that requires a lot of responsibility and you have to obtain wisdom in order to be a leader. So that means you got to go through stuff. And so through everything, I was like, you know what, this is my testimony. And God got to use us. God can't tap us on the shoulder, but he can use people to be his vessels. And so I'm grateful to God that he gave me the responsibility of taking this on. And I know that I'm doing part of my mission and purpose is by telling my story and living my truth and being honest when I say, Yes, what I went through was extremely hard. It was tough and I cried and I went through a lot. But y'all, I'm literally living my best life right now. And this is the happiest I've ever been in my 36 years on this earth.
Absolutely. Well, we love you, friend. You got to come
Love
back.
you.
Tell Kim,
Bye, feeling friends.
thank you so much. Hold tight in the green room, all right? And
Okay.
we're gonna see you soon, okay? Just hold tight. Listen, we had a great show today with my best friend Ivy Scott. She just really poured her heart out, and we thank God for her and thank God for the opportunity to speak and tell the truth. And I want you to tell the truth. I want you to believe in yourself. I want you to step out on faith and knowing that you are going to be okay. Everything is going to work out, but you got to put the work in. So you're listening to Phil and Friends right here on WHCR 90.3 FM. I'll be here same time, same place next week on Virtual Space. Listen, I'm somewhere. You'll find me. All right. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.